This morning at 7 a.m. Eastern, another stunning announcement.
Good morning. Breaking news overnight. Matt Lauer has been terminated from NBC News.
Longtime Today Show host Matt Lauer fired from NBC for alleged inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace. Andy Lack, the news chairman at the Peacock Network, released a statement this morning that says a complaint was filed last night by a colleague, and there is reason to believe it wasn't an isolated incident. And now we know it may not have been. In a piece just published by Variety, it's reported that Lauer is accused of sexual harassment by multiple women. Co-host Savannah Guthrie found out Lauer was let go this morning and had the emotional and difficult task of breaking the news to the world.
All we can say is that we are heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for Matt. He is my dear, dear friend and my partner, and he is beloved by many, many people here. And I'm heartbroken for the brave colleague who came forward to tell her story, and any other women who have their own stories to tell. And we are grappling with a dilemma that so many people have faced these past few weeks. How do you reconcile your love for someone with the revelation that they have behaved badly? And I don't know the answer to that. As painful as it is, this moment in our culture and this change had to happen.
Okay, so that was Savannah Guthrie, former colleague of mine from Court TV, obviously having an emotional, challenging time because she has a very close relationship, friendship with Matt Lauer. They said she found the information out this morning, Greg, and then had to go on and tell everyone.
I don't know, man. I remember the good old days when it was just FNC and everybody was making fun of us. FNC is like the first kid on the block who got chicken pox. And all the other kids laughed, and then it spread, and they're all going, holy crap, is this pervageddon ever gonna end? It seems to be with Lauer quite pervasive. But it's not just a pattern of abuse, it is a pattern of acquiescence. When you're at a company and you make a lot of money, the people around that person won't listen to you because he feels he can do what he wants. In a weird way, a lot of these people seem like children. Like they have to be told how to act because they've been told yes so many times. Throughout their lives, they've been told yes. That the idea of somebody saying no makes no sense to them, so they just bring you into an office and then they press a button behind their desk so the door locks. I would like to see that conversation with office services. Like, I can understand getting a clap on light, clap off, but saying I'd like a button behind my desk to lock the door when I'm seated so I can have sex with a stranger. It's kind of a hard conversation to have.
All right, wouldn't be aware of that.
I think you're going to get turned down for that one.
Yeah, I think so.
They're going to say no lock.
Exactly.
I wouldn't ask for it.
Okay, so Dana, here we are back in our old studio today, and we'll be in here again, what, till Friday? I guess we'll be back in.
We look good in here, though.
Again. I think so, too. It's nice lighting. So, tough situation today for, obviously, for Hoda, for Savannah, for a lot of the people that have, grown up, essentially, and watched the Today Show with Matt Lauer for years.
As these revelations have come out, like the Harvey Weinstein one was kind of, I think, one of the biggest. And then every day, though, you could have another story like this. Just last week, you had the CBS's Charlie Rose. And I do think about how all of these other networks covered Fox News when we went through our own difficulties, and that's been about a year now, within the last year. One thing that's different with NBC, I thought, from the others so far, is that NBC got ahead of the news coverage. I wondered about that with CBS and others, that that these reporters are working on stories. And with CBS, for example, the Washington Post story ran, and then the news came out that they were going to suspend and then fire Charlie Rose. In this case, I suppose what happened was that because the young woman, I don't know, the woman came forward to the NBC executives. At the same time, they knew that these stories were being worked on by various publications, the New York Times and others, that they went ahead, did their own investigation, and took very decisive action beforehand so that they actually got to announce the news. NBC announced the news. It wasn't that they got pushed into. Yes.
They did a preemptive strike because they knew the dam of stories was going to break.
And it was going to be bad.
Well, one of the suggestions was they said that they had discovered this as somebody came forward on Monday, but the reporting is also stating that they had been aware of complaints and that newspapers had been working on these items, which they usually will contact the Media Relations Department if they have something like this going on to let them know, especially if they want to speak to people that work there.
Yeah, only NBC News knows how far back the allegations go, and whether they were really decisive, we don't really know that, because they could have known about these things for a very long time, and because of the avalanche of reporters about to break something, that could have forced their hand. Also, this woman coming forward. But, you know, when Savannah Guthrie said what she said today, I think myself and many people here can understand what she's saying. On the one hand, if you work with someone for many, many years and you admire that person and you know that person closely, you feel very sad for that person to crash and burn. But at the same time, you feel horribly saddened for the alleged victims of any sort of sexual harassment or impropriety. So it's a very complicated and complex situation for everybody when they're involved and they're working with people that deal like this. This guy made so much money for NBC News. It can't really be understated. This Today Show was the cornerstone of the network, and they made, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars each year in profit for this network. And Matt Lauer was paid very handsomely. I think he just signed a $20 million a year contract. And it's like the New England Patriots losing Tom Brady. It's their franchise quarterback, the key to the offense, so to speak. So
sounds familiar, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've been through it. Other companies have been through it, and now it's happening to them. It's almost like too big to fail. Do you remember in the financial crisis when you know, these companies are doing a lot of bad things, but they're making a lot of money for the shareholders, and then they crash the system, and then they get bailed out. So it perpetuates bad behavior. Now people are saying, you know what, you're not too big to fail. They're allowed to, you know, let bad people go, or people that are accused of doing bad things go, and they're willing to take the hit and start fresh. And I think that's kind of going to be the new outlook when you handle these things. Start fresh.
So, Juan, so the allegations also are that the New York Times was about to release a story, that NBC knew that other stories were about to drop. And like Dana said, they kind of got ahead of this. What do you think about how this was, you know, handled, and in fact, how they handled the communications with, you know, Savannah and Hoda today, letting the viewers know?
I really don't have much to say about it. I mean, I was surprised in reading not only about the button behind the desk that Greg mentioned, but that they called Matt Lauer last night before he went to bed to let him know, but they didn't tell anybody on the staff until this morning when the Today Show staff was coming in. So my take on this, though, Kimberly, is that we are at a moment in American culture, I think no question, when you wake up, and I mean, it was shocking to me to see. I thought, really? They fired Matt Lauer? As Jesse said, he was kind of the central pillar of NBC for a long time. And I agree with you, Jesse. I think a lot of companies have to have a different way of thinking, that now you can't just say revenue and profit is the be-all and end-all, that in fact there's going to be social consequence and repercussions as a result of backing this. I mean, I think back to, you know, what happened with Anita Hill and the kind of outpouring. Now you have the hashtag #MeToo movement. And on the political front here, I'm so interested in the idea that President Trump continues to get involved, that he was tweeting on this morning and saying, you know, that Andy Lack, the president, he says, go look at Andy Lack's past. I don't even know what that referred to, but apparently something's there. So to me, what this boils down to then is you get a situation in our country at this moment where, you know, in the political sport that's going on, you have Republicans saying, oh, look, the liberals, the Democrats, they don't apply the same standard to their people that they impose on a President Trump or on a Roy Moore down in Alabama, who, by the way, is now apparently back in the lead in the polls in his Alabama Senate race. And then you see NBC, which is always posited as the left, take such immediate action. There's more pressure now on Conyers to resign.
Not really.
I think there is more pressure.
The CBC pulled it back today.
No. I'm talking about overall. And by the way, inside the CBC, there is pressure. You don't want to exactly show face to people who are not your friends, but I think that there's no question Conyers is under pressure.
I don't think that this is a political story by any means. I think this is of cultural significance. There is no due process right now, and so we're talking about a sea change. People keep talking about a sea change, but it also could be a panic. When the entry for allegations becomes lower and there's no investigation, there's no questioning by law enforcement, no time frame to allow an accused to try to defend themselves. So the workplace and the surrounding universe of public opinion is operating now like a college campus. On college campuses, administrators could adjudicate an assault case. That's what's happening now. We're adjudicating that law enforcement. Now, if somebody accuses you of assault, which is what we're hearing here with Matt Lauer, so the law should be involved.
Well,
however,
that's criminal conduct.
However, it happened in Sochi, so it's hard to do that because it's in another country. But the fact is, the common bond in these cases, in the media, in politics, and in the campus, are no due process. And we have to worry not just about women, but about men, because these are your brothers and your sons. You know, they're your siblings, they're your fathers or your grandfathers. You have to somehow create a process for these people to answer. I mean, the way Matt Lauer, the way this reads, the man's a creep. But a lot of people might not be creeps.
Why do you think he didn't get due process?
Well, I think that maybe he didn't have enough time to answer his accusers.
I don't know that.
I don't know.
I think that they probably did ask Matt Lauer. They said they conducted an intense investigation over a 36-hour period.
Right.
I can't imagine that they didn't go to Lauer. Now, the lawyer for the woman who made the charges is very pleased and says that clearly NBC responded quickly.
I think there's something there, definitely.
But I think there's something there. But I think that the key here in this discussion about this cultural moment, the reckoning, sea change, however you want to refer to it, is that previously the advertisers would not have said a thing. They would have said, well, this is a popular show. That's for someone else to decide. In this cultural moment, the advertisers, much like the voters down in Alabama, according to the president, are going to have their say.
But I want to know everything then. I want to know everything about what's going on. I want to know the specific elements to every case. It's like drug overdoses. You benefit from knowing precisely how people died. The ingredients that you have in every case is important because that discerns a difference between a panic and a sea change.
Well, it's against confidentiality.
All
And
right, I'm going to get Dana.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
And speaking of panic, we were just mentioning this when we were in the green room. So the pendulum swings the other way now. And unfairly or unfairly, women can then be unfairly punished because men are now so scared of, rightly or wrongly, being alone with a woman in the office, going on a golf trip, a corporate golf trip, an excursion, anything where you're alone with someone who you work with, there's now a climate of fear, and you don't want women unfairly punished and not included in meetings or in, sessions where you're kicking around ideas because of the fear of some sort of unfair retaliation. I don't think it's going to happen that way,
No, but
I've already heard people
effect,
say that now, can we go out for drinks? What's going to happen? I fear that that's going to happen. I don't think it will, but you never know.
Isn't that the Pence rule?
The what?
The Pence rule.
Yeah, never be alone.
The Pence rule.
Never be alone with a woman.
Well, he was mocked for the Pence rule, and now a lot of people are wishing they only had their own Pence rule.
But you don't want the Pence rule.
I don't think the Pence rule is necessary.
No, he's saying he doesn't want a chilling effect, so then women are deprived of opportunities.
Correct. That's the Pence rule is chilling.
Yeah, they might otherwise have been included on, and then otherwise in an abundance of caution and fear and paranoia for something being wrong because there isn't perhaps due process, and an allegation could be enough to blow you out, or an allegation could be investigated and you find the evidence of it that supports it. But right now, it's such in a state of flux, Dana, that everything is kind of piled in together and it's tough to kind of sort it out.
Just to bring it back to this in particular, so you had Matt Lauer and Charlie Rose, just for example, they were, and also Mark Halperin, commenting on things that happened here at the network. If we were the first one, we're the first chicken pox, okay? So then they're covering these stories. And you think about what happened last week when Al Franken gave his non-apology, and he gets the question, what would you have thought 2 weeks ago? And he said, it never would have occurred to me. Yeah. And I have to wonder, when they were actually doing the commentary or interviews about what was happening at Fox News, if internally that they had any idea that their behavior was going to come back to haunt them. And it might be one thing that's weird culturally at this moment is, do men in positions of power have to rethink what they've been doing if they thought it was okay before?
Probably, I remember sitting at a bar in Cleveland. You were sitting over there, and Matt Lauer was sitting right there, and all he kept doing was asking me about Ailes, constantly asking about Ailes, and I'm going like, this is not the right place to talk about this stuff. Ailes hadn't been gone yet. It was the day before, and it was just like, I don't know.
And what about his interview with O'Reilly?
Yeah, what he said, the top man doesn't go, or something like that.
No, something about how you ask questions or, exercising power over your subordinates.
Yes.
Okay.